G'day guys and gal. Warhammer 40k is absolutely loaded with memes, which is part of the reason why I love it. After all, Rogue Trader was originally intended as a sci-fi parody of other settings and it just kind of evolved from there. However, with decades of storytelling combined with a lot of memes and retcons, sometimes it can be hard to tell what is actual lore and what's an inside joke within the community. One such meme is that the Dark Angels, the Sons of the Lion and First of All Legions are actually low-key traitors. And whilst I did know they did some dodgy shit here and there in the name of secrecy, I thought it was overall ridiculous. Until I actually looked into it and yeah, holy shit, these guys are fucking traitors. Or at least they've done their best to appear as ones. Now it's not as black and white as that, which is why I'm making this video, but god damn, the Dark Angel chapter needs a smack. Ideally from the Lion himself. Speaking of which, you've probably noticed this dope ass t-shirt I'm wearing, which is actually part of the latest and greatest limited edition Majorkill merch drop. We have this one, which is my favorite obviously, as well as one in purple showing off a serious badass, as well as a Templar helmet, speaking his final words. The theme of this drop is badass heroes, with each design coming in both a t-shirt as well as a singlet format. I also decided to throw in some bathrobes as well, because bathrobes slap. Like I literally live in mine. As well as releasing a hoodie to bring it all together and represent the merch drop by having each symbol embroidered on the sleeve. I know it's getting colder where most of you are right now, so a new hoodie would sort you out nicely. This has been the biggest merch drop to date and the response has been fantastic, so once again thank you guys so much for that. There's only about 5 more days of these being live before it's gone for good, and as always, the designs never come back, so it is really now or never. Link is below. Today we'll go over each of the times the Dark Angels did something either extremely questionable or outright traitorous, as well as why they actually do it in the first place. We can then make an assessment about where their loyalties truly lie. Let's get into it. Before I get into the specific examples, I want to make a quick point. It's fucking bizarre that out of all the Loyalist legions, the Dark Angels are the ones that became the most traitorous, especially since their Primarch's most famous quote was "loyalty is its own reward." So why are they acting like this? Well, most of the time it comes down to them being extremely paranoid and ashamed about the fact that around 1/4 to 1/2 of the Legion technically became traitor and were declared to be the Fallen, Dark Angels who had turned their back on the Lion and even attacked his fleet, causing the destruction of Caliban and putting the Lion into a 10,000-year coma. However, the sad irony is that only a tiny fraction of those fallen angels were genuinely traitors, with the rest either not knowing they were against the Lion until the bombs started falling, or were against the Lion but actually for the Imperium, or were just pro-Caliban independence. Only a slither of them were heretics and actual traitors, which is why the Lion is currently able to rally so many of these fallen to his banner. Even Cypher, someone who's been a bit of a dick for the last few thousand years, seems to be following mostly a loyalist agenda, yet he's the Dark Angel public enemy number 1. The Dark Angels are all very ashamed of this fallen stuff and do anything to keep it a secret in fear that the Imperium will declare them renegade, despite the fact that many other loyalist legions had traitors in them, mostly the White Scars, yet are totally fine. The Dark Angels have actually done more damage to the Imperium covering up the Fallen than the Fallen have done from existing. So yeah, it is fucking stupid, which is why despite the Dark Angels being my favorite legion, they are not my favorite Space Marine chapter. Okay, now let's get into their cringe as hell traitor moments in no particular order. Their original trespassers started off kinda small. For example, they would often abandon their allies in war zones, sometimes mid-battle, if they got a whiff of a single Fallen on the other side of the galaxy. This often ended in disaster for the Imperial forces who would have engaged, expecting and pretty much relying on Dark Angel support. This was the original issue that got the Inquisition's attention, as various chapters and commanders would file official complaints due to the Dark Angels more or less dooming thousands of Imperials to death for no apparent reason. The Dark Angels would also hunt the Fallen with extreme prejudice, happy to cause collateral damage to Imperial worlds to capture the Fallen, as most of the time, the Fallen would hide on Imperial worlds. A close example of this is when they heard that the fallen Dark Angel Cypher was on a shrine world, they sent 1,000 Dark Angels there to capture him no matter what. They would have carpet bombed the city to draw him out if needed, but fortunately, the world had already fallen to chaos and was overrun with demons. Hence, they instead fought as heroes, with only a few surviving thanks to Cypher leading them to a teleportation area. Good guy Cypher. Although this kind of stuff was mostly excusable, with various other chapters having similar levels of baggage. After all, a number of Blood Angel successors have lost their marbles and eaten entire guardsmen regiments mid-battle by accident, whilst the Space Wolves literally had a civil war with the Inquisition and ended up killing a bunch of Grey Knights. However, as we got closer to the current setting, more and more Fallen started getting shot out of the warp. As such, the Dark Angels took this to a whole nother level of heresy. When Guilliman returned to the setting, he began personally traveling to most of the first founding chapters to do them the honor of presenting them the Primaris Marines and telling them of his plan to save the galaxy. When he was reaching the Dark Angels, they thought he may be coming because of the Fallen, so they genuinely thought about firing upon his fleet in an attempt to kill him. So fucking stupid. They were genuinely prepared to kill a loyalist Primarch because he might tell them off about something that happened 10,000 years prior. Fortunately, sense prevailed and they didn't do that, but it's so embarrassing that it was on the cards. Someone they did bomb, however, was the Space Wolves. To be fair, it wasn't entirely their fault, but they still did it. Basically, Fenris was under siege by the forces of Chaos. Again, with the Dark Angels being tricked into coming to Fenris under the belief that the Space Wolves had been corrupted by Chaos. Instead of rallying to their aid, they just started dropping bombs on everything, taking their friendly rivalry to a whole nother level of unfun. They did say sorry afterwards and try to make things right, but yeah, holy shit. Trust the Dark Angels to carpet bomb the Space Wolves. Over the years, the Inquisition has grown suspicious of the Dark Angels and their irregular behavior, sending various agents to scout them out and see what is going on. I think you can see where this is going. Tragically, pretty much all Inquisitors failed, either by their ships being mysteriously lost in the warp or them returning empty-handed, most of the time having undergone some pretty traumatic brainwashing. Fucking with the Inquisition isn't on top of many people's to-do lists, with entire Space Marine chapters getting annihilated if they get on the Inquisition shit list. So for the Dark Angels to clap them like they were just another hoe is pretty remarkable. However, none of this holds a candle to the most egregious, obscenely traitorous thing that the Dark Angels have done by far, which was to kill a custodian within the Imperial Palace itself. All the other shit can be equated to standard Imperial infighting, which happens a lot more than you'd think and isn't much of an issue as long as everyone is Team Emperor and is overall loyal. However, there is never an excuse to attack or kill a custodian while claiming to be loyal to the Emperor. The custodians are his representatives in all things. They speak with his voice and act with his authority. The Emperor made them like this and gave them that responsibility. They are also pretty much the only people he can still communicate with in a semi-understandable state. Well, at least until the recent opening of the Great Rift, which has somewhat woken him up. But the Dark Angels still fucking killed one. Here's what happened. Cypher had recently helped Guilliman return to Terra after his awakening. However, G-Man didn't trust him, so had him arrested to be questioned later. However, Cypher does what he does, hence he escaped his cell, prompting the custodians to start searching for him, as well as a sleeper squad of mega elite Dark Angels in unmarked power armor. These Dark Angels were the best of the best, inner circle veteran type of shit. They encountered a lone custodian warden, and in their quest to ensure they captured Cypher and kept the knowledge of the Fallen away from the custodians, they attacked him. Boy oh boy was that a fuck up. They unleashed everything they had on him, yet despite this, the Warden was able to kill 6 of them without issue in under 5 seconds. Remember, the Wardens are the elite of the Custodes. The only reason why the Dark Angels didn't get completely slaughtered was because they had a librarian who attempted to paralyze the Custodian with his psycho powers. However, the Custodes' will was so strong that all the librarian could do was slow him down briefly, long enough for a pair of missiles to strike the Custodian and bring him down. The effort of slowing the Custode for a few seconds nearly caused the librarian's brain to melt. The kicker was that the Custodian was tasked with delivering a message to Cypher from the Emperor himself, as Cypher is fundamentally loyal. Hence, those Dark Angels killed a Custodian in order to try capture a loyal Dark Angel. Fucking retards. I'm sure there are many more examples of the Dark Angels doing heretical shit, but those should paint a good picture. So this begs the question, are Dark Angels traitors? No, they aren't. They are overly paranoid, kinda stupid, and need a good smack. But they do what they do because they perceive it to be the greater good. The damage they have done to the Imperium is like a drop of cum in a whale's blowhole compared to the effort they've put into defending it. With the return of the Lion, the Dark Angels have been reunited with the Fallen under one banner. Yes, it's an awkward reunion, and yes, I'm sure the Lion will have some stern words. However, he's been on a bit of a forgiveness trip recently, so Azrael should be able to keep his head on. Fortunately, the Lion's return also spells the end for the Dark Angels' dumb shit traitor moments, so maybe I can actually start enjoying them again. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up the merch. You can't just watch this Dark Angel vid and not get a forest green t-shirt with the most badass quote on it. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more heretically loyal content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.